So yes, she does have the prenup, even though he waited to the very last second to sign it. But also, there is room for him to try and contest it in court. Now, we don't know if they had a postnup signed. We only know about the prenup. We also don't know if they're separated or for how long. But we know at the very least they were married for 10 years. In those 10 plus years, they had 2 children. They also have multiple businesses together. The messiest part of a divorce is the division of the assets every single time. And they have a lot of business together.
People were stunned when Kandi Burruss and Todd Tucker confirmed their divorce, but the real shock came from how fast everything unraveled once the truth was out. It suddenly made sense why things between them had been feeling tense on camera and awkward in public for so long. Looking back now, the signs weren't subtle at all, and you can tell this breakup didn't just come out of nowhere. When Kandi dropped Tucker from her name online and stepped out without her ring, fans immediately connected the dots. Folks had been whispering for years that something felt shaky between them, and their split basically proved that the foundation had been crumbling long before anyone admitted it. To understand how all this even started, we gotta rewind to 2011 when Todd worked behind the scenes on Real Housewives of Atlanta, and Kandi was one of the faces of the show. Fakidra Parks actually spotted Todd first, calling him cute, articulate, nice, and down to earth. And she thought he'd be a solid match for Kandi. Everything changed during that cast trip to South Africa, because that's where Kandi and Todd really got close.
I'm pretty sure they have the restaurants, they have their production company. I think it was just announced they're producing another show on Broadway. They had the trucking business that, fell through. I also wouldn't be surprised if they own a couple properties in real estate. Also, if we're gonna be honest, Kandi most definitely was out earning Todd. So there more than likely is going to be a possibility he's going to try and get spousal support. And there will be a back and forth on child support because their kids are in single digits. Ace is 9 and I believe Blaze is 5. And her solo statement to People just tells me that it's going to be very messy.
When they got back to Georgia, their chemistry turned into late night link-ups and things got serious fast. Todd was cool keeping it light, but Kandi wasn't about to waste her time. She later said on O's Black Love series that she told him directly, "What are you going to do? Do you want to make this a real relationship? I don't really need no new friends." That pushed Todd to lock things in, and from there they kept their relationship quiet since dating between cast and crew wasn't allowed. But once Kandi wanted their relationship out in the open, she encouraged Todd to leave his job so they could stop hiding and live openly. She believed in him and saw them as a team, even saying, "I'm a person that if I love you and I'm with you all the way, in my mind, there's nothing that we cannot do together." Todd eventually resigned, and they started building their business empire side by side. Then suddenly, a woman named Mila came forward saying she was Todd's girlfriend before he got with Kandi. She claimed she pulled Todd aside for a private talk about his new situation, and the things she said he told her sounded messy enough to make anybody wonder what was really going on. Mila claimed Todd pulled her aside and said some wild stuff about Kandi, including calling her just a trick and saying he wasn't into her music at all. She said he told her Kandi couldn't sing, her body was thick, and her face was all right, which is a messy thing to say about someone you're supposedly falling for. But Mila didn't stop talking there. She said Todd was treating Kandi like his shortcut into Atlanta's A-list circle, and even while he was hugged up with Kandi publicly, he was hitting Mila's phone privately, dropping "I miss you" messages. If any of that was real, Todd was moving like a man playing every lane at once, chasing opportunities like he was running a whole playbook. Their relationship kept growing anyway, and Todd ended up proposing during a New Year's celebration in January 2013. Reports said he gave Kandi a 2-carat ring in front of friends, castmates, and family. Some outlets tried to claim the whole room gave their blessing, but behind the scenes, things were way more complicated. Kandi's mother, Mama Joyce, was the first to let people know something wasn't adding up. During an episode of the show, Mama Joyce said exactly what she felt, and she didn't sugarcoat it. She wasn't impressed with the ring Todd bought either, even when Kandi kept insisting she picked it out herself. So let's break this down real quick. Fakidra had to nudge Todd toward Kandi in the beginning. He only wanted something casual at first. He allegedly said her voice was trash, her looks weren't his thing, and he was still messaging another woman.
Was Kandi's mom right all along?
No, I do feel you're opportunist.
After 11 years of marriage, Todd and Kandi Burruss are getting a divorce. If you like Bravo, click follow. Just a few days ago at BravoCon, Kandi Burruss was awarded the Lifetime Achievement Award. And they went through obviously so many flashbacks of her life and getting to this moment and how great her life is. The family she's grown, the marriage, everything. And her daughter, Riley Burruss, is now on Next Gen NYC. And I saw a lot of blind items about somebody removing their last name on Instagram, on social media, and that there was a divorce in the near future. And I heard rumors that it was Kandi, but I did not think this was real.
Could have been a scheme that Todd set up for him to come to you with the booty.
Just a scheme set up by Todd.
On top of that, the engagement ring situation didn't exactly blow anyone away. This wasn't the smooth love story people like to imagine. When wedding planning kicked off, Kandi wasn't just picking colors and venues. She was locking down a prenup that was tight enough to make anyone blink. That paperwork spelled out everything. No alimony for Todd, no payout, and if things went bad, he'd have 30 days to vacate her home. 30! Why would someone sign terms that sharp unless they were thinking hard about what came with the lifestyle? People started wondering whether Todd signed out of pure love or because he saw what staying close to Kandi could open up for him. Being in the orbit of someone with her power, money, and connections can make a tough contract feel easier to accept. But when the time came to actually sign the prenup, Todd hesitated. That hesitation lit up every alarm Mama Joyce already had ringing. She straight up called him an opportunist and even told him on camera that Kandi stepped herself down for him and that a man is supposed to be a provider. That moment had the whole room tense. When Mama Joyce confronted Todd about what he brought to the table, he fired back by saying, "I provide love, happiness, stability." But that barely calmed anything down because the tension only got heavier from there. In one scene at a bridal salon, Mama Joyce went off and accused Kandi's assistant, Carmen, of messing around with Todd, which exploded the whole situation even more. Things didn't settle after that moment either. Mama Joyce started speaking to the media, telling interviewers she believed Todd would drain Kandi financially and that she didn't want any part in planning the wedding. That only added more heat to the fire that was already burning between both families. The drama got so intense that Mama Joyce even clashed with Todd's mother, Ms. Sharon, creating even more chaos before Ms. Sharon sadly passed away from a stroke in December 2014. Despite everything, Todd eventually signed the prenup at the very last second, and he and Kandi officially tied the knot on April 4th, 2014. Even with all the drama, Mama Joyce still showed up to the ceremony, which aired on a spin-off series called Kay's Wedding. But the honeymoon phase didn't last long because Todd later told Kandi he still felt some type of way about that prenup. According to Kandi, their intimate connection took a sharp turn just 6 months after they got married, and things got real quiet in that department. Now, this is where the emotional layers really start stacking up. For a lot of men, intimacy is tied to ego and feeling valued. A prenup that heavy, one that basically spells out, "you walk away with nothing," can hit a man differently, even if he signs it willingly. Todd entered the marriage knowing every piece of the life they shared was built by Kandi, and that kind of imbalance can sit in a man's chest like a weight. When a man feels like he has no power, that pressure can spill into the relationship fast. Intimacy is usually the first thing to suffer because pulling back physically can feel like the only way to take back a sense of control. And if Todd felt like his voice didn't matter unless Kandi allowed it, distancing himself could have been his way of trying to gain some ground again. Meanwhile, Kandi operates like a boss, logical, organized, structured, and she views financial protection as necessary, not personal. But intimacy doesn't run on contracts, signatures, or legal terms. So when Todd slowed things down, she felt the emotional shift instantly. It wasn't just the lack of connection, it was the unspoken hurt, the imbalance, the emotional wall that built up over time. He saw the prenup as rejection. She saw it as security. And that kind of misunderstanding can sit in a relationship like a ticking clock. Not long after the wedding, Kandi was ready to grow their family. But she told Fakadra they weren't even connecting enough physically to try for a baby. That alone showed just how far apart they had already drifted. After a long stretch of tension, Kandi and Todd finally reconnected physically, and by January 2016, they welcomed their son, Ace. A few years later, in November 2019, their daughter Blaze arrived through a surrogate, marking another major shift in their family dynamic. But instead of bringing everyone closer, the transition exposed cracks they weren't emotionally prepared to deal with. Todd later admitted on a video for Kandi's platform that he didn't feel an immediate connection to their new daughter, and that confession opened the door to a bigger issue neither of them knew how to navigate. When a child arrives through surrogacy, some parents, especially fathers, struggle with bonding because the process feels more medical than emotional. And without that physical closeness, the early connection can feel delayed. Since Kandi wasn't carrying the baby herself, the whole journey already felt different for both of them. There was no pregnancy glow, no late night kicks, none of those traditional moments that help parents settle into the idea of a new life. Instead, everything was scheduled, structured, and handled through professionals. That can make the emotional part feel distant, especially for someone who already questioned his place in the household. And Todd was already battling his own insecurities long before Blaze arrived. So missing that natural bonding moment may have made him feel even more out of place, like he wasn't sure where he fit into the family anymore. Instead of pouring into the home, he drifted outward. Kandi later called him out for being out at clubs 2 nights back-to-back, less than a week after Blaze came home, even staying out until morning the day after Thanksgiving. Avoidance is something people fall into when they feel overwhelmed or unseen, and Todd seemed to be running straight toward that pattern. He wasn't getting reassurance from the relationship, he wasn't clicking with the baby yet, and he didn't feel grounded as a father, so he escaped into the nightlife where the energy, attention, and validation came easy. When Kandi confronted him, Todd argued that he went out because she wasn't giving him enough attention. He wasn't just asking for closeness, he wanted to feel valued and noticed. Deep down, he probably did want to feel secure in the family he helped build, but he leaned on the wrong outlets to deal with those emotions. Then came the situation with Todd's New Jersey condo, the property he bought with an ex before he ever met Kandi. She told her castmates that whenever Todd took trips to New York, he would stay at that condo, hang out with friends nonstop, and live like he had no responsibilities waiting at home. Kandi even admitted she sometimes worried about him being unfaithful. And to make things worse, her co-star Portia Williams claimed Todd was allegedly hooking up with women behind Kandi's back, and that he would introduce himself as Marvin, so nobody could trace anything back to him. As their businesses grew and new projects popped up left and right, Kandi started to realize their marriage was starting to feel less like a partnership in love and more like a full-blown corporation where the romance was fading fast. During one of their film therapy sessions, Kandi opened up and admitted that their intimacy had dropped off hard, saying they weren't connecting physically the way they used to at all. The distance between them was starting to feel permanent, like they couldn't find their way back to each other no matter how many conversations they had. Todd was dealing with a whole different kind of hurt. He told Kandi he felt overlooked and claimed she didn't make enough time for their family. He reminded her that he walked away from his old job and rearranged his whole lifestyle for their relationship, but he didn't feel like she ever met him halfway. From his perspective, everything seemed to revolve around Kandi's career, Kandi's schedule, and Kandi's spotlight, leaving him feeling like he was circling around her life instead of sharing it. Then Todd revealed something even deeper during that session. He admitted he kept taking on new business ventures, including their trucking company, because he felt pressure to impress Mama Joyce and Kandi's entire fan base. He said, "I was able to become a business entity that makes a lot of money. Everybody accepts the money guy. He's good, he's the best, he's this, but I'm not happy."
Kandi Burruss says, after a lot of deep thought and prayer, I've made the decision to move forward with the divorce, protecting my peace and being the best mother I can be, and co-parenting with love and respect. I need to know what happened. We each have one daughter from previous relationships and 2 children together, and several businesses, restaurants. Kandi even thanked Todd in her very recent Lifetime Achievement Award. She said to Todd, "Thank you for surviving. Blogs, the shade, the rumors. You earned this award too." Who knew there was trouble? I never thought this couple would split, but somebody did.
Don't let me catch you. 'Cause let me tell you, ain't no real behind enough. Ain't no ocean deep enough. Ain't no desert hot enough to keep me off your ass, baby.
Do you think Kandi Burruss would ever come back to the Real Housewives of Atlanta? It would be iconic having Cynthia, Phaedra, Portia, and Kandi. Maybe Nene? I mean, just looking for some possible silver lining in this bad news.
That honesty exposed how heavy everything felt behind the scenes. While the public saw them as a thriving power couple, Todd was carrying way more emotional weight than anyone realized. And once a person starts tying their worth to productivity instead of emotional connection, resentment creeps in, intimacy fades out, and the relationship starts feeling like a nonstop board meeting instead of a partnership built on love. So the question becomes, how are they supposed to pull this marriage back towards something real again? According to both of them, they tried switching things up by welcoming other women into their bedroom, something they openly admitted to on multiple occasions. In relationships already struggling, that kind of move can feel like a risky attempt to revive chemistry that's slipping away. Even as recently as November 2025, Kandi spoke openly about it, saying there was nothing wrong with threesomes in a marriage and even hinted they'd had one within the last 6 months. But when a relationship is fighting for survival, bringing in a third person is like trying to put a bandage on a wound that needs surgery. It might create excitement, but it rarely fixes the deeper issue. In situations like Kandi and Todd's, adding someone else can quickly turn into a distraction instead of a solution. Maybe it made Todd feel wanted again or helped Kandi feel desired, but it didn't touch the core problems that were pulling them apart emotionally. So here's the real question for our audience. Have you ever considered inviting a third person into your relationship, or would you ever? Drop your thoughts down below and don't stress. We're not here to judge. And that brings us to November 17th, 2025. When Kandi popped up at BravoCon solo and without her ring, it sent the internet into full detective mode instantly. People noticed she had already wiped Todd's last name from her Instagram bio. And the fact that she hadn't shared any recent pictures of him since the fall had fans raising their eyebrows fast. Even though she dropped a quick comment on one of his photos with their kids, the vibe around his posts felt like he was auditioning for the single father lane without saying it out loud. But honestly, none of this shocked anybody who had been paying attention. The signs that this marriage was drifting had been flashing bright for a long time, and now that the divorce is official, everything makes a whole lot more sense. The connection between them always felt a little stiff, like they were trying to convince the world the spark was still there when the flame had already dimmed. The truth is, Kandi deserves someone who chooses her with their whole chest. No tension, no power struggle, no side distractions, and definitely no extra participants just to make the relationship feel alive again. She moves with intention, she works hard, and she shows up, so she shouldn't have to beg anyone to match her energy. And on the flip side, Todd probably needed a lifestyle where he didn't feel swallowed by expectations or weighed down by the pressure of being tied to a woman with a massive public platform, running businesses, dealing with constant criticism, and trying to keep up with a legacy as big as Kandi's can drain anyone, especially someone who came into the marriage already fighting insecurity. So if he's now stepping into a life where he only has to worry about his own responsibilities again, that might be the breath of air he didn't realize he needed. Now that the divorce is out in the open, nobody should be shocked or heartbroken. The writing wasn't just sitting quietly in the corner, it was glowing in neon for years. Their energy shifted, their vibe changed, and the moments that were supposed to feel intimate or loving looked forced more often than not. Let's be real. Kandi letting go might be the biggest act of self-respect she's shown in a long time. Sometimes releasing someone isn't a loss, it's a reset. Maybe Todd stepping out of her world for good will finally give her the space to find someone who meets her emotionally, romantically, and spiritually, all without needing an instruction guide or a therapy session every week. And maybe Todd stepping away from the spotlight and the pressure cooker of fame will allow him to rebuild his life on his own terms without feeling overshadowed or judged every time he breathes. So no, don't gasp, don't panic, and don't pretend this came from nowhere. This ending was already written. It was just waiting for them to admit it. When two people have been carrying heavy emotions for years, sometimes the only real path forward is giving each other some room to breathe. Kandi and Todd stepping into separate lives might be the calm they both needed without even realizing it. Now they can focus on co-parenting with clarity, showing up for their kids without the tension, the misunderstandings, or the pressure of trying to force a bond that stopped working a long time ago. Space can be healing, even when it doesn't feel good at first. With the arguments behind them and the expectations finally lifted, both of them can rebuild their peace from the ground up. They can move differently, think clearly, and learn who they are outside of the marriage that turned into more stress than joy. That kind of reset hits differently when you've been trying to hold a relationship together with duct tape and hope. And who knows what the future holds? Once the pressure fades and the emotions settle, they might see each other with new eyes and a healthier mindset. But that's something only time can decide. For now, stepping apart is giving both of them the space to figure out who they are without the constant noise of business meetings, public expectations, or non-stop opinions coming from every direction, including Mama Joyce's strong voice in the background. What matters most right now is healing, rebuilding confidence, and finding stability in their own separate lanes. And honestly, a breakup isn't always a failure. It can be a powerful reset button. Sometimes walking away is the bravest thing you can do when staying together keeps hurting both people more than helping. This chapter may be closing, but that doesn't mean the story ends badly. It just means a new story is beginning. And with their history, their accomplishments, and their determination, both of them are going to land on their feet in a major way. They're stepping into their next chapters with clarity, freedom, and a chance to rediscover what real happiness feels like without forcing anything that doesn't fit anymore. If you've been following this whole situation, let me know what you think down in the comments, because I want to hear your take on where this breakup leaves them moving forward. Do you think the distance will finally bring peace, or do you see them circling back to each other one day after the dust settles? Drop your thoughts below, because I'm definitely reading through them. And before you go, make sure you like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss any of the wild celebrity stories we break down on this channel. Hit that button and turn on your notifications, because there is so much more drama coming your way. I'll see you in the next one, and don't forget to check out the video popping up on your screen. It's packed with even more celebrity tea you do not want to miss.